Okay, I am going to be looking for the agenda, which I don't quite see yet. Could have put it on the other one. Come on, there's the agenda. Okay, this is the call to order. Can we have the Pledge of Allegiance, please? Everybody stand. Please begin. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
A little bit complicated to do remote. Okay, if we can go on. The next. And if we can have roll call, please.
Absolutely. Chair Adriana von der Graaf.
Present.
Vice Chair Bobby Williams.
Here.
Commissioner Maggie Bird.
Here.
Commissioner Robert Trimborn.
Here.
Commissioner Nanette Metz.
Here.
Commissioner James Flickinger.
Here.
Commissioner Scott Aquina.
Here.
Commissioner Steve Weiss.
Here.
Commissioner Steve Tannehill.
Here.
And for the record, Gary Jacobs has been excused, but you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Okay. We now have approval of the minutes, and Mr. Tannehill had a couple of requests for some changes to the minutes. Dave, have those changes been included in the minutes as of yet or not?
They have not.
Okay. So at this point, Mr. Tannehill, did you want to discuss the changes that you wanted to the minutes?
Sure, I'd be happy to.
Thank you.
You bet. I sent Adriana, Anna, and Dave, and Keith requested changes. I'm sorry, give me a second here to pull them up. Here's what I request. Section, and they're in 3 different sections. It might be easiest, I don't know, maybe to go through them. But section 6C, which was the recommendation, and it related to the PFAS identification work that we voted on. I asked that a sentence be added that said as follows. Okay. I asked that it be added as follows. Commissioner Steve Tannehill asked whether the firefighting foam containing PFAS continues to be discharged into the soil as part of FAA required testing. Director Freitas says it does not, that the airport previously purchased equipment which keeps the foam from being discharged into the soil. So I've asked that that be added. Then on section 7, the director's report, there was a discussion about finances, and I just asked that the comment I made at the meeting be added to the minutes, and that is as follows. Commissioner Tannehill noted that the county adopted fiscal year 21-22 budget for Oxnard Airport shows a loss of $1.6 million. And then the final third change I requested had to do with section 10, commission comments. And there was a sentence that said, Mr. Tannehill shared he's not aware of an effort to shut down the airport. I asked that that be expanded to capture all that I had said, which was that Mr. Tannehill shared that the community concerns relayed to him relate strictly to noise and safety issues from pilots who come to Oxnard to conduct touch and go trainings, disregard the fly-friendly guidelines, published touch and go patterns, and fly repeated patterns over homes west of Edison Canal and south of Woolley. The community has stated publicly on a number of occasions that they are not seeking to shut down the airport. So those were the changes that I requested, which I believe all reflect just a little more robustly what in each case I said at the meeting.
Any comments from the commission?
Only does this reflect what was actually said by the recording. I guess it's a question of staff.
Haven't had an opportunity to cross-reference the proposed changes with the recording of the meeting.
Then I would suggest that we defer the approval of the minutes until that cross-reference can be conducted by staff. This is Bob Trimborn.
Thank you. We'll take that as a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Those opposed?
Bobby abstains because I wasn't here for that one.
Thank you. The motion is carried. We will wait until that can be correlated with the voice recording of the February 7th minutes.
I have a brief comment, Steve Weiss, that
Thank you.
our minutes have never been transcribed as to a word by word verbiage of what someone has said. So, I mean, to me, this is unheard of. With all due respect, Steve, to direct quote of exactly what you said. I mean, those of us that have been on boards before, it would be just laborious to listen to minutes that are like word by word of what one has said. So I think we need to address this in our next meeting.
I have another comment. This is Bob Trimborn. Yeah, I believe we need to follow the county supervisor's protocol when it comes to minutes. And if they're action minutes, then typically they don't include verbatim unless it's requested during the actual time the motion's been considered.
Thank you. May I ask staff if they can do some review of policy to have that ready for the next meeting so we can have a discussion and decision.
Chairwoman Vandegraaff, let me respond to Mr. Weiss. Steve, I hear you. Since you phrase it, those of us who served on the boards, let me just, for the record, I served 12 years as a elected public school board trustee. And that was a very significant board. It was public. It was $76 million budget. I also served 6 years on the Bridge to Home board.
We understand that, sir, but I would like to.
Let me finish if I could. So, and I'll make it quick. I hear you, but I wanted to respond to that comment that suggested that one needed board experience to understand how the minutes work. And the only thing I would say, my intent here is to get content, not verbatim. So I felt that since there was a comment in the minutes about the finances, I felt the full picture should be presented. I think PFAS, it was important to me to know that we were not discharging it continually. And I think that's important to the public. And I think that would be important. And the final comment, I think, does reflect what I said in the meeting. But obviously, I agree with Bob Trimborn completely. It should reflect that. And I'm not asking for exact language. I'm asking for the content of what I'm trying to say be captured. Thank you.
Thank you. And I still would like to request of staff if there is specific policy regarding exact terminology in minutes, if that could be done for the next meeting, please. Okay, public comment period. Have we received any public comments? County Department, you are on mute. Dave? Hello, Dave. Did we lose you?
I saw his screen was a little staticky earlier. He must have relogged on.
Yeah, I saw the same thing.
Hello, can you hear?
I can now.
Okay.
It's good to know you're back, Dave. Okay. Could we see the actual agenda, please? All I'm looking here is new business. Could we see that more in detail? Okay, are there any public comments? Have we received any public comments by Zoom or in writing, please?
Yes, we have two comments that Donna will read out.
Okay.
Thank you. So I'll make an announcement for the public to have an opportunity to participate. If you would like to be added to the public comment queue, please be connected via Zoom. If not already connected and wish to make a public comment, you can find the Zoom link on the last page of the meeting agenda, which can be found at bcairports.org/meeting-calendar. If you wish to make a public comment on agenda item number 5, please press the raise hand button now, or if you're calling in today, press star, then 9 to be added to the speaker queue. And I will proceed to read the comments we received, the written comments we received. The first comment is from Tom McAnally. It reads, while speaking with Keith Freitas last week, I relayed an anecdotal observation that it seemed to me that the volume of TNGs over our home, in paren, Seabridge Shell Island, end paren, were reduced, but there were scofflaws still. One is a regular visitor that has a white high wing plane with blue trim that is very noisy and seems to be a regular nuisance. I have not been able to capture tail number. Anecdotal, but on the record. End of comment from Mr. Tom McAnally. The next comment is from JP Pizzella. It reads, since the airport reopened, the situation has not improved. Last Thursday, there were aircraft overhead almost continuously from 9:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. 4 of the aircraft that were in the area for several hours were high performance, in paren, and very loud, end paren, Cirrus SR-20 or SR-22s, based out of Santa Monica and Van Nuys, doing touch and goes for hours on end. This last Sunday was not much better. Anyone that does not think that there is a problem here is living in some alternate reality or is not home during the day. End of comment from Mr. J.P. Pizzella. The next comment is from Randy Scuria. It reads, hi there. I have been a permanent resident of the Oxnard Shores neighborhood in Oxnard for over 35 years. And yes, the Oxnard Airport was there first. 3 decades ago, we had to endure the commuter jet shuttles to LAX until they became economically unfeasible and went away. Then in the last few years, our neighborhood has been barraged by local and out-of-county flight schools practicing their touch and go landings, causing as many as 40 to 50 flyovers before noon. I include out-of-county schools because flight tracking phone apps show a constant flow of planes from all sorts of Southern California airports making a beeline to Oxnard Airport. I asked a few pilot friends of mine as to why the schools do that. And the consensus came up with these out-of-county flight schools are in areas that are so air crowded that it would take many hours to complete TNG training with all the waiting and traffic dodging. For the fees charged for flight training, it's more cost effective to fly to Oxnard and make noise here. It doesn't seem fair to have our lifestyle disrupted with air noise because it's cheaper for a school to operate over our heads. Other than doing something short of charging an in quotes out of county end quote landing fee to deter them, we need some sort of FAA mandated flight pattern changes to keep these repetitive flights off the houses. The voluntary noise abatement pattern was a nice try in the right direction. And that's the end of the 250 word limit from Mr. Randy Scuria. The next comment is from Mr. Doug Tauber. It reads, it's been very concerning to me that the county keeps wastefully spending money on keeping the infrastructure for scheduled air service at Oxnard Airport, while being totally oblivious to the fact that this airport's days of scheduled air service are long gone and have been for some time. Last summer, $14 million of taxpayers' money in federal grants was spent on rebuilding a runway that was reported to still be in fair condition by the very same contractor that rebuilt it, and justified rebuilding it based on the myth that scheduled air service may return someday. Last December, another $400,000 of county taxpayers' money spent for new taxiways. It's time to take a look at how the airline industry's route structures and business models have changed over the past decade and realize that Oxnard, just like many other small airports, are no longer feasible to be served by the airlines. To continue this irresponsible giveaway of money to contractors who are using this airport like an all-you-can-eat buffet is doing nothing but robbing the taxpayers of badly needed funds for schools and other projects that would better serve the community. It's been over a decade since the last air carrier pulled out of Oxnard, and we have seen some very robust economic times since then, and yet they never came back. That should tell you something. I think it's time to have this conversation and stop fooling ourselves. Doug Tauber, Via Marina. End of comment. And the last comment is from David Cronshaw. It reads, Camarillo Oxnard Airport Authority. I would like to respond to comments made in last month's February Airport Authority meeting by some of the commissioners. In response to Commissioner Steve Weiss's comments of the flight training noise, which we experienced in the midterm of COVID, was noticeable, but I have not heard any kind of flyovers or anything, end quote. My response, flight training will not affect Hollywood Beach residents. It is mainly affecting the residents of Oxnard Shores, Oxnard Dunes, Channel Islands, Via Marina, Marina West, Bartolo Square North, Hobson Park, Seaview Estates, and Sea Air. In quotes, this new thing of wanting to shut down airports is absurd, end quote. My response, the Oxnard neighborhood councils have never had a goal to shut the airports down. They are very valuable assets. The council's main issue are flight schools conducting repeated training over Oxnard neighborhoods. The councils are not opposed to the return of scheduled passenger flights. In the event of a disaster, Oxnard has 4 airports, all within 12 miles. In response to the commission chair's request for the exact numbers of touch and goes, I would advise all commission members to not wait for the exact numbers from the Department of Airports, but to do what our neighborhood residents do and download the Flight Aware or Flight Radar 24 apps and personally monitor the flight training on Friday and weekends. Since SMO and VNY have weekend restrictions, many times there are 2 to 3 of their flight schools training here simultaneously. Thank you, David Cronshaw, Oxnard. End of comment.
Thank you. And we have 2 who had their hands raised, and I've promoted them to panelists. So Ben DiBenedetto, you may unmute, and you have 3 minutes.
Thank you so much. I didn't attend the last meeting. I was unable to on Zoom, but I did go online and I reviewed the entire board meeting. I have a couple of things to talk about. Particularly, I found the meeting really lacking. In my opinion, the committee doesn't even follow Robert's Rules of Order and may not follow the Brown Act as well. It's absurd and a dereliction of duty to place members' name in nomination for an officer's position that's not present, let alone vote them in with no regard to that person's ability, let alone wish to serve in the position. It doesn't matter that they've served in that capacity before. That does not speak to their ability or desire to serve in that position now. You guys are representing the community, not the airport. And it's very frustrating to try and deal with an organization that is tone deaf and out of touch with the needs of the community, but willing to spend our tax dollars with no real regard serving the community. As for Mr. Weiss's comment about not hearing aircraft at Hollywood Beach and Ms. Bird's comments about very, very few state aircraft flying over our home on Sandpiper, I live a block away. And I know that she's newly in that address, so perhaps she hasn't been there enough to really get the flavor of this. But I invite them both to spend a day on my deck on Mandalay Beach Road on a Saturday or Sunday before they make any further comments or decisions regarding my peace and quiet or spending of any of my tax dollars. There is a lot of oxnard between my house and Hollywood Beach that's getting inundated because of the airport's complete arrogance and how they are dealing with this problem. This weekend was a prime example of what they're allowing to take place under the guise that the neighbors are complaining want to shut down the airport. We're not trying to shut down the airport. Sunday, 3/6, tracking from 10 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. and then again from 11:30 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. PM. Total of 5.5 hours of tracking, 17 identifiable planes and 9 planes with block tail numbers, 26 planes in all. Average rounds per flight were 6 for 131 rounds over my house, a block from Sandpiper, one approximately every 2.3 minutes. At 2:40, 2:24, and 3:16, there were 5 planes overhead in the touch and go pattern at the same time. At 11 a.m., we counted 4 planes in the touch and go pattern at the same time. The planes on this day came from Santa Monica, Van Nuys, Bakersfield, Santa Barbara, Camarillo, Santa Paula, and of course, Oxnard. CP Aviation, I cannot tell you enough what the problem they are, and everybody knows it. You know it, the airport knows it, and we know it. They had 4 flyovers during this period of time, and they did.
That's time, sir.
Mr. DiBenedetto, can you finish in 30 seconds?
Yeah, I can. I'll just cut to the chase. You know, it's exasperating dealing with this. Read the Brown Act, follow the rules of order, and ask the city attorney if he thinks you're in compliance with either one of them. And when you can do that, you may be able to reasonably represent the community. Maybe. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next.
Next is Walter Hagedorn. Go ahead, Walter. 3 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Walter Hagedorn. I'm the chair of the Oxnard Shores Neighborhood Council. And 16 months ago, we joined with Channel Islands Neighborhood Council and Via Marina Neighborhood Council, as well as a committee that was formed to address the issues that of the airport, especially the touch and go landings, which have been going on for many years. We professionally went about this. We formed a committee. That committee went and documented all the complaints that we had, and we presented these things to both your board and the authority and to the airport. And we found at that time that basically people have been lying to you, that there were many complaints, times of complaints that were there that they were saying that were happening. And as we have discovered over the last year and a half, is that the discussion about the noise abatement and the touch and go landings have been, we've been told that things could change. We were told that you know, first they were told that right traffic couldn't work, then we were told it could. We've been told a lot of things, but the bottom line is, and Ben talked about it, and so did the other people who commented, it hasn't changed. It hasn't changed hardly at all. And what happened this Sunday was very similar to what happened in July, when I walked out of my back door on a Saturday morning, and a plane came right over my house, and I just started videoing. I started videoing for the next 45 minutes, and there were 19 planes in 40 minutes, which goes to what exactly was mentioned about this Sunday. About every 2.5 minutes, there was a plane that came over my house. Now we have asked the commissions, and we've asked the authority to look into the different ways that this could be resolved. And we know that it can be resolved. There's right traffic, and we know that for instance, the EIR for the North Shores development it was promised 20 years ago. And I'm just wondering what happens when I said that the EIR had that. I was told that the EIR didn't make any difference because it wasn't happening. Well, it turns out you can look right out of your control tower and look down the runway, and you can see the grading that's going on at North Shores. It has been reapproved, and it is going on. And that EIR says that the flight should go right and should not go over Oxnard Shores or North Shores. Whatever goodwill there was from the airport, which there was little to begin with when I got here, has totally been exhausted. I think you really have to start thinking about what you're doing to this community, because nothing has been done in the last year and a half. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other comments?
There are no other, let me just double check. Nope, no other hands in the air, and all the written comments have been read.
Thank you very much. Let's move on to new business, please. 6A, review and make a recommendation regarding the monthly noise report format. Dave?
Okay, thank you. And you'll have to pardon me, I can't get my camera working. It kind of fizzed out and I haven't been able
Oh,
to
that's
figure that out.
okay.
So
We'll just listen to you.
just picture something really exciting to look at.
We can do that.
So, yeah, this is an item that that staff is bringing, and this is based on comments received relative to the report format, the monthly noise report and the operations report. And so staff in this item has added a few examples to your packet, and I think what we would like to suggest is that you take that material, look at it, get a feel for what it is that provides, whether or not there's still anything missing, if you're happy with the reports as they are now, and then work with staff and the airport authorities for Oxnard and Camarillo in a subcommittee, and through that subcommittee that would meet, half a dozen times or so, come up with a structure and a format that satisfies everybody's goals for what that monthly report could do. And so what I will do here is to indicate through a grid here of all the different airports that we've thrown up for consideration. And most of these are 1 or 2 pages. That includes mostly things relative to noise. But some are a blend. They'll show operations. They'll break down operations by type in some cases, and some are geographic in nature. But most try to be as brief as possible. So, in terms of what the recommendation is, I've kind of spelled that out. That it would be a discussion amongst y'all, and then come up with a recommendation or a motion that says that you would nominate a member or so, or a member or two. I don't think there's really any reason to limit it, who would join a subcommittee to discuss this over the next several months with staff. And I can go through any of the reports you'd like to and feature any that you had questions on or would like to bring to our attention.
Do any of the commission members wish to discuss any of the particular sample reports at this time?
Madam Chair, I'm not in a position to discuss the reports, but I'm requesting to be on that subcommittee.
Please, that would be most appreciative.
Chairwoman Van de Graaff, real quickly, I have reviewed them. I really appreciate the Department of Airports providing all these different samples. I've highlighted sections that I thought were valuable that sliced and diced it various different ways. So I think there's a lot of good information here. And I guess I too would like to volunteer to be on the subcommittee.
Are there any other commission members who would like to be on the subcommittee?
Madam Chair, could I read this out from our bylaws?
Yes, you could.
It says from time to time, the chair may assign up to 4 commissioners to an ad hoc committee for purposes of special studies and pursuits. An ad hoc committee shall not be comprised of a quorum of the commission. Each ad hoc committee will be headed by a committee chair, and the committee chair shall be responsible for carrying out its assigned task. An ad hoc committee shall be dissolved after the completion of its task or achievement of its objective. And I'm going to ask a question to the side of Anna. How does this apply, do you think, to something where we form a subcommittee of multiple advisory bodies?
Outside of the commission?
Yes.
Well,
If we're gonna patch a couple together.
those bylaws govern the commission, so for their purposes, no more than 4.
Okay, so we just can't we can't form a quorum
With any more than
of your
4.
members. Beyond that, I think we're probably clear to assemble.
Okay, then the chair would like to nominate herself to be part of this committee, to be part of this subcommittee.
I would also like to be part of the committee. Nanette Metz.
Okay, that makes 4. We have 4 members. Anna, if you will make note of that, we can move forward. We have our 4 subcommittee members, and then we can move forward with a discussion on other representation that would be appropriate. But for this moment, we have the 4 members of the subcommittee. Okay.
Thank you.
Pardon me?
Noted, thank you.
Thank you. Let's move on to 6B, update. And I know that because Keith isn't here, this was just going to be a brief update, Dave, on the revised form of the hangar lease agreement.
It is, yeah. Madam Chair, the subject is the update of the revised form hangar lease agreement for privately owned hangars at the Camarillo and Oxnard airports, which replaces month-to-month leases with term leases. The recommendation is to receive an update regarding the revised form hangar lease agreement for privately owned hangars at Camarillo and Oxnard airports, replacing month-to-month with 20-year term leases. And I just, for purposes of making sure everybody's up to the same level here, to summarize what the proposed lease form would provide, it's a 20-year term. There's no reversion. So the owner has 3 options at the end of the term: a new lease, to sell or transfer the property, or to remove or relocate the hangar at their discretion. Subletting would be allowed if we had county approval and a written sublease. It does allow transfer and or assignment of the property to another. It allows 6 months to replace an aircraft if somebody were to sell one and have an intervening period where they did not have a hangar, or did not have an airplane in the hangar. Relative to motor vehicles, 1 or 2 is acceptable, plus a golf cart, and that depends on the hangar size. So 1 for a smaller hangar and 2 for a larger hangar. We still would not allow boats or RVs on the property. Additional aircraft can be under construction in the hangar, and there had been a requirement for in the prior version of this, March of last year, there had been a requirement for vehicle security stickers, and that's been dropped. And mediation clause had been something that the COHOTA, the hangar owners representation had asked for, and that language is going to be included, and it's being finalized now.
I had one question for you.
Yeah.
What about the regulations on driving on the airport, that those of us who drive on the airport routinely take the little test for approval of knowing the rules of that? Are there going to be any changes to that? Is that still being monitored? How's that working?
Yeah, it's a pretty low bar. We have a test that folks are going to be pretty easily passing. Just basic kind of rules of driving on the ramp, and that's examined every 2 years. So most folks are going to need to take that test at the end of this coming year. So that'll be the end of the second year.
My apologies. If we could go quickly back to 6A for a moment. Dave, what about having the AOPA representative for Oxnard as part of this subcommittee? Would that be appropriate?
I have no reason to believe that it wouldn't. We certainly could have outside
think about
expertise come in.
Okay, just as a thought.
Yeah, we'll reflect that.
All right, thank you. That is item, and then we will move on to Steve Weiss's favorite item.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
Madam Chair.
I
I have a comment. I think we
Yes.
need to have public comment before we move forward also.
Thank you.
So do we have public comment first before I comment?
Certainly, go right ahead, Mr. Trimborn.
I'll wait for public comment to be completed.
Madam Chair, there are no hands raised among the attendees.
Okay, then I'll make my comment.
Mr. Tannehill does have his hand up.
Go ahead, Bob. You were first.
I'm sorry.
No worries.
My concern is the subletting clause that's in the agreement. Just a question of staff. If someone owns multiple hangar sites, can they sublet all those hangar sites? And if they do, how do you control that from a commercial operations perspective?
That has been an issue at Oxnard.
Sure. Due respect, Mr. Trimborn, I'm not going to get ahead of my director on hypotheticals. Okay. I know that this has been debated over the prior years, and as you can see from the current slide, the version we're dealing with dates back to March 2020 or 2021 when there were only 2 items that were considered to be sticking points still. So the vehicle stickers, which we dropped, in the mediation clause, which is going to come in. So items that are other than that, and we want to consider hypotheticals looking back. Certainly great to discuss. I'm not prepared to take that on at the current time.
Thank you.
Perhaps we can put that on the agenda for a future meeting.
Chairwoman Vandegraff.
Yes.
And Deputy Director Nafee, thank you for this. My question is on a different area, but it kind of dovetails, I think, with Bob's question. And my question is on the 20-year lease. And as I understand this, historically, it's been a month to month. I do understand. Thank you. I do understand why someone who's investing in the hangar would want something other than a month to month. That makes eminent sense to me. But 20 years, I have concerns about the length of time. Think of how the airport has changed over 20 years. And if you look forward 20 years with electric aircraft, perhaps coming to fore with regional transports, eVTOL and eCTOL, leaded gas going away. A lot of changes are coming. And I just wonder if 20 years is too long. And again, it dovetails, I think, with what Bob's getting at, because someone could tie one up for 20 years and sublease them. And so I guess that's my question. Was something like 5 years considered with a renewal if there was no breach, something like that?
Oh, it was definitely considered.
And what happened with that? Am I opening up an old?
You are. You are.
Well, that remains my concern. I think 20 years is unnecessary, is too long and unnecessarily long. Dave, do you have any comments on that?
Commissioner Tannehill, I don't. I'm not going to bite. I think you know, we have arrived at this point, and it's been an interesting path to get here. And I think everybody's kind of high-fiving over the fact that we're down to two things. And it doesn't mean that some people aren't disappointed with the outcome. But, you know, rather than battle forever, I think there's a point where we say, let's get something, live with it, and then see how it goes at the end of the 20-year period.
Mr. Weiss, would you like to make any comments?
I wasn't going to, but I think I will now. And as
Thank you, Mr. Weiss.
someone that did contract negotiations in the entertainment business for close to 40 years, what we always called a good agreement was when both parties left the table, none of them being satisfied. And I think that's what we have here. I mean, it's incredible the give and take that was accomplished here over this long term. So I think the counties, many of their concerns were addressed, and also the hangar owners that at one point seemed to be getting the verbiage, it's our way or the highway, and it's not perfect, but it's a pretty darn good. We've come a long way, and I think everyone will be happy when this is finalized, and everyone can leave the table not happy. Those are my comments.
Do any of the other commission members want to make a comment? Okay. Well, it's for the.
I see a hand,
Yes.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed the hand.
Mr. Flickinger.
I can't see the hand, sorry.
Oh, he's in the attendee side. So let me get him over to us.
Okay, no wonder I couldn't see the hand.
And does Anna need to read the language about making public comment with each item?
I can at the chair's request if she would like that as part of each item.
Please do so.
Absolutely. If you wish to make a public comment on agenda item number 6B, please press the raise hand button now, or if you're calling in today, press star then 9 to be added to the speaker queue.
All right, Mr. Flickinger, you can come off mute and provide your comments. You have 3 minutes. Mr. Flickinger?
Unmute. Here we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to say, congratulate the staff for working so diligently. And I think this looks like an equitable contract. And I just wanted to say thank you.
Are there any other comments?
I do not see any comments at this time.
Okay, this was a recommendation only, therefore for an update. Okay, we can move on now to Mr. Weiss's favorite resolution. Consider adoption of, Steve, I've known you a long time, so we can tease each other. Adoption of Resolution 8, authorizing remote teleconference meetings of the Aviation Advisory Commission for a 30-day period pursuant to Government Code Section 54953, Subdivision E of the Ralph M. Brown Act. Dave?
Yes, good. So this is version 8 of that same resolution. We've added the word consider in here rather than to just straight up adopt. So I think we are seeing a change in approach over time. So tomorrow, the Board of Supervisors will be meeting and they'll get another update, and there very well may be different outcome from some of the items that apply directly to that. But as of tonight, we don't have updated guidance other than the fact that that masks have been relaxed a little bit. So rather than having a mandate of any sort, they're strongly recommended indoors in county facilities. So not really much extra guidance to provide. I would say that if the commission would like the opportunity to meet remotely next month, that you go ahead and pass this resolution.
And what would the commission like to do?
I'll make a motion to approve this resolution.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I'll second, Maggie.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Let's move on to director's report.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair. The director's report is going to be rapid if I do it well. So we do.
Which you will.
We have a noise program. Thank you for helping me keep this light. The noise program update. Staff is working with our aviation consultant Kaufman Associates to develop a new pilot flight guide, one for each Oxnard and Camarillo airport, and we're continuing to do what we can to increase pilot awareness and flight school awareness, get written and electronic materials disseminated out to that community, so that that to the extent that information can guide behavior, that we have everything we can out there for that purpose. And we also do have a new system that we're working with Vector Airport Solutions on, and when that's deployed, that will give us a lot of tools that are similar to what FlightAware provides, or those public flight tracking software applications, but give a lot more tools and have a public-facing portal that gives the community a lot more tools to visualize and to remove that layer of to make it more transparent as to what's going on. And so we look forward to that. We also have sought the ability to add a position to our team, to our staff, who will be focused primarily on community relations and noise. Cloud 9, the Department of Airports has been able to work with the City of Camarillo, the CEO's office, and RKR, who's the developer of Cloud 9, to resolve the last remaining items. And on Wednesday at 5 p.m., their permits, their final permits, are going to come up for city approval, and we're hoping for us to finally achieve that, and that Cloud 9 can get back full speed. They've been doing some minor touch-up grading to get ready for that, but we're expecting to clear that last hurdle, and that Cloud 9 can get back to it. A prior report item was the fuel farm, the self-serve fuel farm that AVEX operates. They had what they thought was going to be a minor maintenance project. It wound up being a little more involved than that, and now they're waiting on parts. So the issue is surrounding the dispenser and the inbound filter, and those items are back ordered with our logistics supply chain issues. So we hope to have those parts in March and have the system back up and running in April. I'm told that they are honoring the self-serve price for their customers wherever they are. We've seen new development interest at Oxnard Airport. Nothing specific to call out, but we have seen several letters of interest in one or more pieces of property that are vacant at Oxnard Airport. So we're working through that. Staff is also going to be establishing development standards as it relates to those properties, both at Oxnard and at Camarillo. The taxiway connector project, the FAA is going to be funding that. They're limiting funding for the base bid to be 3.25 million, which has us phasing the project a little bit further. And we expect bids on for the base bid to be opened on April 5th, and we'll fund as much as we are able to get with the bids when they open up. We'll see where we stand financially. And if we can continue to get additional FAA money in there and get the entire project funded, which is estimated at about $7.5 million, we will. It's that time to anticipate budget presentations. You'd see a big smile on my face if you could see it. Staff is working hard to get the budget numbers ready for the upcoming fiscal year that starts July 1. So we typically are going to present those to our advisory bodies. Security camera upgrades for both airports. That includes the software and the hardware that make the gates go up and down. Looking for modernization there, get good security camera capability, and modernize that, reduce its costs, make it a lot more able to be updated and keep it current. So that's we've had a bid for $478,000, and we're working with county purchasing to go ahead and fund that. Or not fund it, we'll fund it. They go ahead and take care of the purchasing of those cameras and the installation of that. So with that is the director's report, and happy to take questions if you had some or add to it.
Commission questions? No questions from the commission?
And I see none from attendees.
Thank you. Correspondence.
Madam Chair, is it item number 8, reports? What's next? Because I do have a question in the reports in section 8.
Okay, section 8, what is your question, sir?
Thank you. And Deputy Director Dafey, we do this every month. I've asked for detail when there are aircraft incidents to be put into the package so that we have a record of them and so that the public also has a record of them. So I would like, again, there were 3 incidents at Camarillo, and I'm requesting you would give us an outline on exactly what those incidents were.
Commissioner Tannehill, I'll read those out. On the 12th, we had a nose wheel that went flat on a landing aircraft. And then on the 13th, we had a vehicle that was driving where it shouldn't have been on the Air 7's ramp. And then on the 26th, we had a flat tire. So those are the 3 incidents. And just as a point, staff has endeavored, including an agenda item tonight, to ask the our advisory bodies in what manner and content and format the monthly activity reports come. And so certainly if it's the desire of the subcommittee to include information lined out about exactly what the incidents were, then we'll be delighted to furnish all of that.
That would be fine. Thank you, Deputy Director. Perhaps what you might, if you could perhaps maybe in a minute or so, outline what really is meant by incidents.
Sure. The aircraft incidents are going to be something where we have been notified by the tower or by somebody who's having difficulties somewhere on the airfield itself, and that's inside the gates, and it has to relate directly to an aircraft operation or something of that type. That's normally what we're putting in incidents. We also, our operations team responds to all kinds of incidents, and oftentimes that requires some sort of mutual response by sheriff or fire, things like that. So we're tracking all of those things, but for the standpoint of this report, it's typically something that has disabled an airplane somewhere on the airfield and has required a response to go ahead and remove it. And oftentimes there's some sort of there's a delay, aircraft need to go to a different place, or they're in some other way unable to conduct normal operations until that situation is resolved. It's typically what happens. I reported on the vehicle deviation as well, because that
well, it does impact aircraft moving.
Yeah.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Mr. Tannehill?
Again, I think the point is I'd like the detail, because it can be as simple as a non-issue, or it could be a plane flipped over and spilled fuel on the runway. That's why I think it's important we get the detail, because it's such a broad category of items that are reported as incidents.
Any other comments on reports, questions on reports? Let's move on to correspondence, number 9. Any questions or comments on anything under correspondence?
Receive and file.
Thank you. Let's move on. Yes.
Sure. I have a comment, please. On the Teal Club commentary, Deputy Director Nafee, it seemed a little, maybe you could give some color on it, because in every turn, it said this is a problem. And it went through a whole series of things that said in every case, this is a problem. But it didn't really, and maybe that's all you can do, but it didn't really punch it, I guess is what I'd say. It's like, yeah, this will be worse, this will be worse, this will be worse. Is that kind of how it is? Or do you have the ability to be more forceful and say, and therefore we think this? You know what I'm talking about, Deputy Director? It would just make a comment that this will get worse, and then it just moved on.
Well, what do I say? The staff being staff rather than the elected people, we're in the fact supplying business, and we leave it up to those who are duly elected to be serving in the roles that they do, to take that information and to make policy. So when we talk about sending letters in, what we do is we point out various things that exist or maybe that are inconsistent relative to the way policy is being carried out by particular development. But we certainly aren't going to say that's bad or you need to stop it, or value types of statements as that. So that's the way we have to operate, and it works as well as it works. in our country.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments regarding correspondence? Commission comments?
Madam Chair, it's Bobby.
Yes, yes, Bobby.
I received from the clerk, the County Board of Supervisors, my Form 700 invite. And I just wanted, it's more like a question for Anna. I don't know if anybody else got this, but I usually get an email from Anna, about this as to where when I fill out the e-form, I have to send it to her, I believe. Is that still the case?
I don't send it to her. I send it in electronically.
Yeah.
There's usually a button or something there with something says where you're going to send it. And I just wonder if that's all set up, because this seems very early. It's not due till April, but is that right?
Anna?
Is Anna ready to take those?
Yeah.
That's what I'm asking. So before I sit down and spend an hour and a half, I think it is, I have to do this.
Yeah.
As a volunteer, by the way, unpaid. I'm not complaining.
Anna, did you get mine? Because I've already done mine a while ago.
Yes, so it depends on the filer's preference to answer the question. If the filer's preference is to submit it online, you do have that ability to do that online, and it goes directly to the clerk of the board's office. And then I do receive a notification confirming that it's been filed. So Chair Vondergraaf, yes, yours is filed. Commissioner Williams, again, the preference is up to you. If you'd like to print it and do it manually, you will need a wet signature. You can send that to me. I can get that over to the clerk of the board, or you can log in using the instructions that the clerk sent you, and you can submit it online. The choice is yours.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that.
Of course.
That's the end of my question. Thank you, Madam Chair.
I always do it the easy way. Any other commission comments? Okay.
I have one quick one, Chairwoman. I just want to thank staff, because I had requested that I had a difficulty getting through the package because they'd be 80-page packages with everything just sequential. And I appreciate you putting the page numbers, Deputy Director Nafee. That helped me a lot. And another comment I had was to try to get our package out a little earlier, which they did this week and this month, and I appreciate that as well. I just wanted to acknowledge both of those things.
Thank you very much. Any other commission comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment and say that I'm honored to be on this commission, and I look forward to working with all of you. And once I get my feet wet and get up to speed, I will have more input, I'm sure, in the future.
Well, Scott, and we actually didn't even formally welcome you. So a little bit after the fact, but welcome to the commission, and we're very happy to have you.
Thank you.
And which supervisor are you appointed by, Scott?
Huber. I live in Moore Park under Supervisor Huber.
I'm the other Huber appointee.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you're in Simi Valley, I believe, right?
That's correct. Yeah.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome, Scott. We are very happy to have you.
Thank you.
Yes, that goes down.
Okay. Could I have a motion for adjournment?
Oh, I so moved, Maggie.
Okay.
Second, Steve Weiss.
Okay. The committee meeting is adjourned, and we will see everybody in early April, and hopefully the snow will be over.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Good.
Bye.
Bye.